began swiftly. Tanks driven by soldiers attempting a coup blocked the two bridges over the Bosphorus in Istanbul. Helicopters and military jets flew low across the skies of Istanbul and Ankara. Pro-coup soldiers surrounded the airport and government buildings, and then stormed state media offices. A faction of the army said it had taken over Turkey to ensure and restore constitutional order, democracy, human rights and freedoms. It announced martial law and imposed an immediate curfew. Parliament and presidential buildings in the capital were attacked from the air, and the coup plotters said the Turkish government had fallen. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan making a televised address using his mobile phone, calling for people to take to the streets. And the call was heeded. Large protests broke out across the country. Angry Turkish citizens confronting the coup plotters, armed with tanks and guns, with just flags and unified voices. Gunfire and explosions were heard across Istanbul and near Parliament in Ankara. Dozens were killed and thousands injured in the fierce protests. Thousands made their way to Istanbul's Ataturk airport. In the early hours, President Erdogan flew in, greeted by triumphant supporters.
They did not respect this nation's decisions, evident in their votes, and have betrayed the official elected government and the president, who by our constitution is their commander-in-chief. This is not going to end as they hoped.
By early morning, the balance had tipped and people power had won.
Citizens stood before and over the tanks and stood firmly and angrily against these people organising this coup attempt, almost lynching them. And without even waiting for the law enforcement, the citizens caught and detained them.
The coup plotters did not have broad backing from within the military or its leaders. The government says it was carried out by a small faction of Fethullah Gulen supporters. Gulen is a former imam living in self-imposed exile in the US. The state says Gulenists are trying to set up a so-called parallel state and are considered a terrorist organisation. Thousands of soldiers have been detained for their part in the coup attempt, including senior generals. President Erdogan has made it clear those involved will pay a heavy price. Life is returning to normal in Turkey, thanks to the will of its people, who rose up and fought to protect their democracy. Yvette McCullough, The Newsmakers.